The more I break down Florida State at Clemson, the more I like Florida State to win.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are brought to you by FanDuel, where new customers can bet $5, and if it hits, you can unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across FanDuel. Download the app today. We're going to be discussing all the latest coaching news, assistants, head coaches, ACC, SEC, Big Ten. All of it impacts Florida State in one way or the other. I have a few surprising pieces to get to. In particular, the University of Miami is going to be a part of this. Something that was shared with me today that is absolutely delightful because it just shows you how wild college football really is. We'll get to that later in the show. But the first half of the show is going to be about Clemson hosting Florida State. And the more I dive into this game, the more I think Florida State's going to win. And if you would have told me that even 3 days ago, I would have said, you know what? You should probably lay off the sauce. I don't see that happening. But film doesn't lie. Stats do not lie. Trends do not lie. It's just one thing after another. I'm seeing the seams come apart at Clemson. Why? I'm not exactly sure. I'm not an insider at Clemson, but I do know what's happening is awkward, and I'm being kind. Florida State needs to take advantage of that. They were looking at like they were that team a few weeks ago when they played Stanford, had a bye, and then all of a sudden, what happens? They play their best football in quite some time against Wake Forest. Now, I know that's Wake, but they got a solid defense, and they're a pretty well-coached team. And yeah, sure, it was in Doak. But they were dialed in. That is the last thing that I would call Clemson right now, specifically on defense. They are just a sieve. Now, offensively, they're throwing it around very well, even though they've got their best receiver, Bryant Westco's out. Good luck to him. He has got an injury in his back. That doesn't sound good. We'll see how that goes for him, and hopefully he can return sooner than later to action. They still got two other NFL receivers. They got Cade Klubnik. Got an interesting running back situation. A former receiver, Adam Randall, is a big-bodied guy at 230, 235 that's played better of late. But again, if you take nothing else from this podcast, note the following. I think right now, if I had to pick, and there's more research to do, I would go with the Noles, and it's primarily because Clemson's defense stinks. Here are a couple of stats that just blows my mind. We're talking about Clemson here, the team that always has pass rushers, the team that always puts corners in the NFL. But these are the numbers. It is what it is. They are 104th nationally in passing defense. 104th. They got two guys in Peter Woods and TJ Parker that were projected, but prior to this season, to be first-round picks. Between them, they've had some moments, but let's just use Parker as an example. Just as an example. He's a kid out of Phoenix City Central, recruited by everybody in the country. Junior, really had a big impact as a freshman, but he's tailed off. He doesn't even have a sack in the last 4 games, and he's getting plenty of reps. That's not a good sign. Secondarily, Peter Woods, kid out of Thompson High School, the other prominent program, that's two best programs, state of Alabama. He's another kid that's a junior. Everybody thought he would turn pro after this year. He started off slow, but he's picked it up some. Big-bodied guy, 6'2", 305, 310 pounds. He did have 2 sacks versus Boston College, but their offensive line is dreadful. And he had 1 this past week against Duke. They throw it about every down. But the first half of the season, he didn't even have any. They got Will Helt. He's a transfer in from Purdue. Pretty solid player at one end. They got some other guys, big-bodied players, but they haven't done it. New defensive coordinator, Mr. Allen, hasn't gotten it done. He's the former head coach at Indiana. Then he went over to Penn State to be the DC. Then he came down to work with Dabo at Clemson. It just hasn't worked. They're not getting enough pressure. They certainly don't tackle well enough. And here is the final reason that I just kind of came to the conclusion that unless something else I come across is just startling in Clemson's favor, I'm picking the Noles in this game. Check out this stat. Clemson on the season out of 136 teams defensively is 97th in the nation. Again, remember, this is a team that always has corners, and they got a couple good ones this year, so this makes no sense. Maybe Terrell, I think, will end up getting drafted. But they're 97th in the country in passing plays allowed of 40 or more yards. They've given up 7 of them. Clemson. Now, the ACC is a little bit up this year in terms of quarterback play. It's a pretty good league this year. It really is as far as quarterbacks go. But still, Clemson, 97th. And oh, by the way, which team is it that just so happens to throw the ball pretty well deep? It's also in the ACC. Let me think. They were Garnett and Gold. What's that guy's name? Tommy Castellanos. It's the one thing that he has just been amazing at. He's one of the top throwers in the country on the deep ball. Depending on the metric, he's number 1 in the country. Florida State might have a chance to hit a couple of deep balls, and Mekhi Danzy, Deuce Robinson, hopefully Landon Thomas is able to play. We'll see. Randy Pittman, Wayne McCoy. They've got guys that can beat you in different ways, whether it's underneath, over the top, screens, etc. The tackling for Clemson hasn't been as good. I don't understand it. It shouldn't be that way, and I'm still baffled by it. But right now, I think that if Florida State can dictate a little bit, they're not going to just run over Clemson by any means. Their run defense is pretty good. They've gotten much better as the year went on. But they still give up shot plays. They still miss tackles. You still have a chance to get somebody like Jalen Lucas loose. By the way, I'm still a little disappointed they haven't got him the ball more. That's a guy that this could be a game for him. And then finally, I know he's a great player in general. Sammy Brown, the young linebacker for Clemson, he's a really freaky athlete. He's to that point, he's played D-line, slot, corner, inside linebacker, cornerback even on one play, and he's played all kinds of different special teams. Really, really good football player, but he is atrocious in pass coverage. Atrocious. In the last 3 games, again, this is just the bottom line. These are the stats. You take it for whatever it's worth. Last 3 games for Sammy Brown, future NFL inside linebacker. He's been targeted 12 times. He's given up 11 completions. Now, some of those are going to be real short in front of him, but that's still 11. And in the last game, he gave up over 80 yards. Florida State's got a lot of twitchy athletes. You're going to see some mesh concepts, which means some crossers, some screens, try to get Chroma, Jalen Lucas, Pittman, anybody in the middle of the field. Again, Brown can play, but obviously it's not sinking in on how to cover. Teams are targeting him, going out of their way to find Brown. I think Florida State will find that as well. When we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of the guys that Florida State has to be keying on. And if they can at least, quote unquote, mitigate them, again, I think Florida State will win. And if they do a really good job, it wouldn't even shock me if Florida State went to Death Valley and won by double digits. That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at SupplyHouse. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting on projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you're looking for a part, they got 3D schematics you can use to make sure you're getting exactly what you need, and you can also get stuff next day delivery. If you really got to hurry, that's something SupplyHouse can make sure you get taken care of. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you the latest coaching news, breakdowns from Florida State's games, recruiting, transfer portal, NIL, and everything else that goes on with Florida State football. We'll be transitioning into basketball as we get closer to conference play, have some fun with that as well. But it is about to be a very wild month of November. We're going to have some coaching news one way or the other with Norvell. We're going to have some big games like this one with Clemson. So let's dive back in. This is the part where I'm not sure how it's going to go. You've got Cade Klubnik, who is a quality football player, no doubt. I saw him play in high school at the 7-on-7, the Elite 11 in Dallas. Really good player, great guy. But he hasn't had the kind of career that I thought he would. He hasn't been as clutch. Here are a few of the things to note on Klubnik just for this season. Speaking of clutch, you were graded on the deep ball. Like Tommy's hit it this year. No doubt he has hit it. Been one of the best in the country. Klubnik, polar opposite. This really surprising. 29.6% on throws that went 20 or more yards in the air before an offensive or defensive player made contact with it. Let me say that again. 29.6%. That's really surprising because not only is he a veteran that can spin it, they have not one, not two, but 3 NFL receivers. How is that possible? That is the definition of disjointed. Something is wrong. I don't know what it is, but they have 3 guys that will play in the NFL at wide receiver, period. At minimum. That's not even counting guys off the bench. So how is this possible? Florida State might catch a break or two because he's obviously not in sync with his receivers. And I'm not saying this is all Cade's fault. There could be disconnects on how this works out. And I'm not going to point fingers, but if you're below 30% on that, it's going to be a problem. To that end, here are his numbers in general. This season, 160 completions out of 239, 66.9%. They throw a lot of screens and short passes, but he's effective. 1,918 yards, 8 yards per attempt, pretty standard. 13 TDs, 5 interceptions. Again, he's got that many guys that are going to get drafted. Like I'll talk about TJ Moore in a second. NFL guys. He's only got 13 TDs. Anybody else a little surprised by that? Because he started for 3.5 years. Like, what's the deal? Next, the other thing, this is not Klubnik's fault. 11 drops this year by Clemson players that are counted. Not so good. And when Klubnik is under pressure, not very good, according to PFF. 35 of 72, just 48.6%, 7.4 yards per attempt, 6 TDs, 3 interceptions. That's a little bit lower than I would, again, think for a talented player, proven, played with a lot of experience now. He's a senior. Thought that would be a little better. And this I also thought would be better. Now, sacks are a little different and all that in college, but 44 carries, 168 yards, 3.8 yards per carry, 2 TDs. So my question there on the rushing situation for Cade, are they holding out, putting him in harm's way? I think more teams are doing that. Possibly, but he's a mobile guy. Like he can tote the football. I'm surprised he doesn't have more yards, like 350. He's not even that close to 200 yet. He's got 32 more yards just to get to 200. And he's played 7 games. He missed 1. A little surprising. To that end, speaking of rushing, they've had a very weird year. All those players they had that were good running backs over the last 10, 12 years, it's not going so well right now. CJ Spiller, obviously, that was kind of the beginning of like, holy cow, look at this guy. And they just had somebody all the time since. Well, it's not the case anymore. Adam Randall moved to running back from wide receivers, 6'2", 235. He's power. He has a little speed, but he's learning running back. The last game, though, he did get it going. Against Duke this past week, 16 carries, 89 yards, 5.6 yards per tote, and a couple of scores. So watch out. He's a load. Like if you do not get low, if you do not wrap up this stuff where you shoulder bump, that will not work with Adam Randall. Note to Florida State safeties, wrap up. It will not work. That drives me bananas. But he's also still a receiver by trade. So he's got 25 catches, 188 yards, 7.5 yards per catch, 3 TDs. In the red zone, they might try to get Randall the ball. Quick throws outside, swing pass, whatever it is, maybe even a shovel pass. He's a weapon, but he's not dynamic as a runner. He's a powerhouse that's got good hands. It's kind of an unusual combination. But the guy that I'm most concerned about, and it only has to be 1 or 2 plays. I know him from high school. I lived about 2 miles from his high school. He went to Catholic in Tampa. Used to go over there and see him practice and stuff. TJ Moore, 6'2.5", just over 200 pounds, and he can run like a deer. He's a sophomore. The end of last season, he tore up Texas in the playoff game. Really, really talented. Just in his last 3 games, check out his stats. This is about as legit as it's going to get. 8 catches, 227 yards. Yeah, that's what you're looking for. He's really good. So is it going to be a scenario where he ends up being the key for Florida State? Are they going to roll coverage to him? I don't know. But like I said, I'm favoring Florida State right now because I just think their defense gives up too many big plays. As a reminder, again, they're 97th in the nation with 7 plays at 40 or more yards they've given up through the air. 40 or more, 7 of them. In reverse, if you screw around with TJ Moore, no matter what kind of coverage you run, he'll run by you. He will take it off your head. He has phenomenal hands. He's the guy that can catch a 50-yard pass with one hand, turn, spin, make a guy miss, and outsprint everybody else in the end zone. He's a freak. I'm curious to see what Tony White and the defense try to do from a down-to-down distance. Is it 3rd and 3? Are they going to focus on him as much? No. If you get beat on one of those, it is what it is. But 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, are they going to roll coverage to him? Antonio Williams, their slot, will probably have more receptions in the game. Super player. I think he had 10 catches in their last ball game. But TJ is the one, because of the size and the speed, the dexterity, all of it, to make some really crazy catches. He's the one that worries me the most. So let's kind of rewind on something here. How does Florida State play their safeties? They play 3 across, pre-snap, and then they start moving. There is no one thing that they do. Sometimes they drop a guy in the hole. Sometimes they play cover 3. Sometimes they rotate into cover 1. They are very dynamic. But again, if you do not shade somebody to his side literally every play, which is pretty much impossible, you're in danger. Florida State's got good corners, but they're going to line up TJ in a lot of different spots. He'll play some slot. He'll play out wide. He'll play boundary. They'll move him around, especially against Florida State. And I'm going to go ahead and call the following. They're going to have plays. Remember, this is Lincoln Riley's brother. That's the OC at Clemson. That's not going to be a situation. It's going to be straightforward. They're going to have formations and or plays, probably both, that they're saving for Florida State because it's Florida State. FSU's not the same team like you think of historically, but this is a rivalry game. This is a big game. They're going to have something. And as I always say, coaches will lie about it, but they all do this. Florida State has to be able to adjust. When he's in the backfield or he's at slot, whatever it is, does Florida State have an answer for it? And some of it's not going to be coaching. You just got to figure it out on the fly. Like, we didn't see this in practice. You're right, you didn't. That's why they're running it. You have to be ready for wherever TJ lines up. He is a special player. He's only a sophomore, or else he turned pro. You got to be 3 years removed from high school. He'd be an NFL guy after this year if he was eligible. How do they handle him? Finally, this is a little bit surprising to me. They're not running the ball that great. Their running back room's a little off. And they've got a very experienced offensive line. They're all juniors, seniors, and fifth-year seniors pretty much on the 2 deep. Are they going to play better this weekend? They protect Cade pretty well, but they don't run the ball great. Against Florida State's big front, is that going to work out well? I don't know. There's always a battle when Clemson plays Florida State in the trenches. I'm more interested when the Noles are on D. I think the offensive line will do a solid job against Clemson's defense. I don't know if they're going to run like they want, like Gus wants, because they still have a lot of talent with Sammy and those guys playing downhill, but they give up big plays. Florida State's going to need chunk yardage plays. They may not sustain drives, but on the flip side, can Clemson stay ahead of the chains? If they do, then my prediction is going to go into the toilet real quick. I think they're going to struggle with it. In particular, not going to surprise anybody, Darrell Jackson Jr. Are they going to have to double him on pretty much every running play between the tackles? Because if they do, at some point, you're just going to continue to get blasted by guys like Cryer, Nicholson, Omar Graham. This is not a great group in pass coverage. Open-endedly, this guy right here will tell you that. So will the numbers. But playing in the box downhill, that's something they're pretty good at. If Clemson is constantly in 2nd and 8 when they run the ball, that's going to be a problem. I don't think they can block Darrell. Not that I think anybody can. Maybe Jake, at the end of the year with Jake Slaughter from Florida plays, that'll be the best matchup one-on-one just about in the year of the whole year. Outside of him, no, I don't think so. So with that being stated, watch that matchup. Darrell's 335. Like, not many people are going to handle his length and his athleticism, nor his just ridiculously incredible size overall with his height. He always knows where the ball's at. He's at an advantage everywhere he goes. Second eight doesn't work. You get behind the chains, all those different coverages Florida State can run. Again, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. 2. That's the minimum I expect from turnovers because they get them behind the chains. More chances for strip sacks with pressure on the quarterback, Amari, James, whoever's the Desir twins. And then finally, you should be able to, if you contain Klubnik, big if you contain him in the pocket, he gets frustrated. Whether he's under pressure or not, he has thrown picks this year. He's getting frustrated with moving the offense, feeling the pressure because the run game's pretty pedestrian. You must catch the deflection, or if there's an overthrow, whatever it is, there cannot be any dropped interceptions. Florida State's missed way too many of those last year and this season. Must get them. If they do, again, that's a key to beating Clemson. When we come back, I'm going to lead off with something that I didn't even think was possible. Discussion about Mario Cristobal, criticism, people wanting him out. I'm going to share a little story, and it is mind-blowing. That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks and more. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Would you believe there are Miami fans, no way, not Miami fans overreacting, that want Mario Cristobal fired now? Yep, that's what I was told today. I haven't paid attention as much as I should, apparently, because I'm missing out on the free entertainment. Every fan base has wackos. Florida State certainly has theirs too, 100%. But where was Miami prior to Mario getting there? It's called the gutter. I covered that Miami 2022 team. Holy cow, they were terrible. Horrendous. I know he's not a great game day guy. I know there are things that you would like to see him do better. Like, if you haven't seen my post on X, I was on with Dono today talking about them on the Portal podcast. And I asked him, when was the next time you expect Miami to have a running play that wasn't duo, the inside double team play? And he said, I don't know, 2028. He was making fun of his alma mater and favorite team. Like, there's a lot of things that need to be changed in Miami. But getting rid of Cristobal, how ignorant are some of these fans? It is hilarious. There is no way that Cristobal is getting canned. None. Just thought I would share that because I find it entertaining. Now for some generic comments here about all the news that I've had, and it's a lot, about the coaching carousel, some of which directly impacts Florida State, and some of it, quite frankly, is just fascinating. Take this for what it's worth. I find it just fun. And I think the coaching carousel is about the most interesting part of college football anymore because, like I was just talking about with Miami, a lot of these fan bases, they're out of their mind. Auburn, couple of things. I've heard James Franklin would love that job. Interesting. For those you don't remember, of course, he was Penn State. Before that, he was at Vanderbilt. So he is privy to the SEC. However, he's also rumored to be a leading candidate at Virginia Tech. I think that'd be a pretty good fit too. I don't know where he will end up. I don't know what James really wants, but those are two jobs that have some similarities. Rural schools that really are passionate, are crazy fans. I think he'd do okay at either one. The other name that is a hot one with Auburn is John Sumrall. This is why I wasn't happy the Auburn job came open. Sumrall is the head coach at Tulane. He's got ties in the state of Alabama, coached at Troy. He played at Kentucky. He's from Texarkana. He's been in Louisiana. He's been in Alabama. He's been in Kentucky, etc. He's recruited in areas that Florida State needs. He's a good coach. He's a defensive-minded guy. I think he would be a pretty good fit at Florida State. Just throwing that out there in advance. But Right now, he is the leading candidate at Auburn. But what's the James Franklin situation? That's something to kind of get into. Beyond Auburn, Virginia Tech, let's cover that for a second. Who all would be a candidate there? Like Franklin is obvious. Beamer would be at South Carolina. Is there anybody else? Drop a comment if you have any questions or anything you want to throw out there, any comments in regards to who they should go after. Virginia Tech's a solid job. Who else should they go after? Speaking of Beamer, is he going to be on the hot seat at South Carolina if they don't get things rolling, especially if they don't beat Clemson? They just aren't getting it done. They've underachieved, and their offense is offensive to watch, despite having an NFL quarterback. That's hard to do. Let's see what happens with Beamer after this year. Georgia Tech, every job in the world seems to have Brent Key involved. I'll get to him here in a second with another school in the Big Ten, but Auburn wouldn't be shocked if his name ended up coming up with Florida, with Virginia Tech, anybody else. They're all going to try at least to interview him. But the other thing, and I've talked about this on Locked On Seminoles before, Buster Faulkner is OC. I'd love to have him at Florida State because I think he's a great mind. And maybe a former Florida State quarterback who was the Heisman Trophy winner he's on Georgia Tech staff, might come along. Yeah, we'll talk about that soon enough. Haven't heard anything specific, but you would think one of the two coordinators in Indiana would be gone after this year. I can't imagine the Hoosiers keeping both. Just throwing that out there in general. LSU, from speaking to Matt Moscona the other day, he is as locked in as there is anybody in the LSU sporting world. He's the one that broke the Brian Kelly news. He's telling me Kiffin is definitely very high up there. It's not likely with the GOAT. They're not going to get Nick Saban. It's going to be interesting if they don't get Wayne. And how long will LSU wait? Because LSU is one of those big cogs in this coaching carousel. Very important to discuss LSU in many episodes coming up. Same deal with Florida. Eli Drinkwitz is after Wayne, allegedly. Don't forget about Jed Fish. He's a Florida grad. He used to leave notes on Steve Spurrier's car because he wanted to work for the Gators, eventually got a chance. That's going to be an interesting one. Same question there. How long will they wait on Wayne? That's tough. Baylor, is it going to come open? Dave Aranda is always seemingly teeter-tottering on getting fired. Is he going to get fired this year if they fall down their stretch? They've got an NFL quarterback, so they may not. Just throwing it out there, though. Wisconsin, I'm told that's not going to open. They don't want to spend the money. UCLA doesn't want to spend much money. That's not going to end well for them. Penn State, this is where it gets really interesting. Obviously, Franklin is the one that was canned. Brian Hartline, the famous wide receiver coach / coordinator / incredible recruiter for the Ohio State Buckeyes. He was a player there under Tressel. He ended up going to the Dolphins for a while and playing. He has connections in South Florida. That's where he's gotten several receivers, including Jeremiah Smith. He's rumored to be a leading candidate. They're trying to get Elko. I highly doubt that's going to happen. But there's also Brent Key. That's intriguing. That's the other school I was talking about when I said Big Ten a little bit ago with Brent Key. You give him the resources that Penn State does, it's like a $700 million renovation at Beaver Stadium. I mean, that's ridiculous. The recruiting that you can get done there, he's a really good O-line coach. If he could somehow get, and I don't know if this would happen, Buster Faulkner to go with him, that'd be impressive. And then finally, just want to bring this up because I don't know which school it would be. Kenny Dillingham is the head coach at Arizona State. Really good. It's his alma mater. He loves it there. I heard he was building a special house and all this other stuff. I don't know if it's done. Doesn't mean he can't finish it if he still leaves, but there's one major problem at Arizona State. Their NIL stinks. You're not winning a title there until that gets fixed. You can come close and get to the doorstep, but eventually you got to get a guy because you bought him out of the portal, a D-tackle, whatever it is. It's gotten a little better, but it's still not in the stratosphere of where it needs to be, especially in their own league compared to Tech, Baylor, even SMU's in the ACC. All the Texas area schools, Oak State's got better NIL, all those schools. BYU, most definitely. Will he stick it out for several years? Or eventually is Dillingham going to end up at an LSU, in Auburn, a Florida, a Penn State? I don't know. That one is the biggest wild card to me. Really good football coach, young guy. But at some point, he's going to be like, screw you guys. I want to win the whole darn thing. He showed what he could do last year by MacGyver and the whole thing. But imagine what he would do with the pile NIL. Just saying. Obviously, he has ties to Florida State from his past as well. But that's the coaching news that I have, and I hope you enjoyed it. There's going to be a lot more of that. College football coaching, it is wild, and I enjoy it, and I hope you do as well. So thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day, each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Please like and subscribe, become an everydayer if you have not already, and share this podcast with any Florida State fans you know. I will see you again soon.